Hi everybody, I'm Mike and this is Mike Miller Talks Live. Today's quote is Choose Optimism. It feels better. Our typical response to life and to the challenges that life can throw at us is on the pessimistic side of the scale. At least mine tends to be. We say negative kinds of statements like the COVID pandemic is never going to end. I'm never going to feel better. The fire season's never going to stop. We're never going to be able to rebuild. The schools are never going to open, and our kids are just going to be dumber than all the other kids in the world who get to go to school. There's no point in trying. There's nothing good that can come from this. On and on and on we go with these kind of statements that are totally pessimistic. And as we continue to think this way, and say these kinds of things, the effect on us is very negative. Once we start down this path, it grows easier and easier to stay on the path. It's like it snowballs, and it becomes very hard to get off the path. It drains us, this kind of language. Drains us emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And we lose our ability to be creative about life, and we become hopeless. And the quote says something really startling. It just interrupts our negativity with a crazy statement: choose optimism. And I typically am going to say, that's not my personality, because I, like many people, think the optimistic person is a person with a real bubbly personality, always smiling, always happy. And that's not me at all. I'm not wired that way. But as I begin to think about it, I realize that optimism is not simply a personality type. It is an approach to life that we can learn. It's a choice we can make. The optimist sees the bright side of things. Winston Churchill said, a pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, and the optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. They have this point of view. They can see the problem, but they can also see what could be. The optimist sees situations as they are, but they're able to visualize how this could become better. I don't think they're blind to reality. It's not like the kind of person who stands out in the middle of a hurricane saying, what rain, what wind? No, that's irrational cheerfulness that's dangerous. They simply react to problems with a sense of confidence. And they see these negative events as temporary. The optimist is healthier. Psychological and medical research tells us that optimism will improve our immune system. It helps prevent chronic disease. It helps cope with bad news. These people who are optimistic typically recover quicker from illness or surgery, and they stress way less than those who are not optimistic. A study was done with some clinically depressed patients, and it was revealed that training these people to be more optimistic and helping them change thinking patterns worked better than dealing with their depression through medications only. That's, I think, amazing. The optimist has strong social connects. It's been discovered that they have more friends and they have more solid friendships. They work better with other people. They're the kind of people you want on your team. Optimistic people are just more resilient. They don't give up easily. And failure and setbacks, they just handle this much differently. They just get up. They keep going. We can learn optimism. And that's why the quote is so encouraging. Choose optimism. It's not a personality, but it's more of an approach to life that we can learn. And it's a powerful life strategy for experiencing life to the fullest. I think there are a few things that will help us when we're trying to learn to choose optimism over pessimism. And the first is when facing a challenge, two things need to happen. When you're facing a challenge, first you need to be looking for a way to solve it, a way to get through it, or at least a way to manage it so that crisis is not managing you. And second, you need to come up with some good things that have come during the hard time. So then you can, when you talk to people, you can say, yeah, that was really hard on us. But it was also a time of, and then talk about something good that came out of it. I think a great example is the pandemic, because it's been hard on everybody. And we were in a season of being in sort of a lockdown kind of thing, stay home. And some are still in that. And yeah, it's hard. It was having a negative effect on pretty much everybody. Psychological effects, social, many problems are coming from the pandemic. But I've heard from a couple of people, and they say, we really had some positive effects on our family. We sort of pulled closer together. We enjoyed some good family time. And I don't know, just like a reintroduction to one another. And it became very positive, and some healthy changes came because of that time of being together. So it was a tough time, but boy, it was also a good time for our family. And that gives you a positive word about a negative situation. I've heard people talk about how they lost their job, which is a tragedy. But they talk about how it really helped them and their spouse to talk about how to really simplify their lifestyle so they can make it on what they had saved. And they talk about how those are some of the changes that they made, were some things that they wanted to carry with them from that point on, because they enjoyed this new approach to life so much. So it's like, yeah, it was really a tough time, but we had a couple of good things to come out of it. And you can do this as well. Just start thinking about what are some changes we need to make, and then think about how to do it. It's hard. You're talking to people who are sick and tired of being home together, but I think it can happen. And it begins to help you see that even in a hard situation, there are good things there. I think another thing to do is work on stopping negative, catastrophic language. A good example of this is from the children's story, Alexander's Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. That's catastrophic language. And that can do a number on you. Our words can be very creative in a way, because they can create how we think about a problem we're going through, and they can actually make the situation worse instead of better. They shape our attitude, and they make this problem bigger and bigger, and it's growing and growing, and we're getting more and more discouraged and negative and hopeless. And so you want to try to curb that kind of language, no matter what you're going through. It may be a simple day that's just going kind of bad, or it may be a real serious problem. But still, you want to be careful with the language you use to describe it. Cut out all of the horrible, all of the terrible, all of this is just the end. Try to stop that. Add the simple yes, but tool. Yes, but, and then try to add something. We're going to work to turn this around. It's just a day. Tomorrow will be different, or whatever you need to say. I think also it helps to choose to be around optimistic people. You learn to be an optimist by being around people who are optimists. It's just that simple. And observe how they do it. Not, oh boy, they look at the bright side, but how do they do that? How do they make this optimistic attitude happen in their life? I mean, it'll be valuable for you. I think on the same side of this, though, you want to try to weed out the negative, pessimistic people in your life. And that can be kind of hard and maybe overwhelming to think, boy, I just got to tell these people to get lost. But not always. Sometimes it helps just to starve a bad relationship, just to starve it out. And there's two things that build a relationship when you think about it: time and talk. So if you're with a person that's super negative, super pessimistic, and they're just pulling you down, cut out as much time with them and talk. And it'll make a big difference because they'll lose interest and move on. Now, if it's a marriage, don't do that. Go talk to somebody and get help. But they're just talking about friends and stuff like that. Stop watching the news. My pastor just said this from his sermon yesterday, to cut out the news because so much of it is so negative. So I just advocate, watch it for the local events, updates, whatever, the weather, whatever. But then when you start feeling it just having a negative effect of pulling you down, change it. Because you don't want to put information in your head that's going to pull you down. Build the habit of gratitude. Gratitude is like the cure-all. It fixes pretty much any problem. Start bringing this attitude, building this attitude, and bring it to the table. This is what I'm thankful for today. I recommend every day taking some time to express gratitude for anything you can think of that you are genuinely grateful for. I started walking not long ago. It's pretty physically, I got some problems and I needed to exercise. I don't like exercise. I find it boring and it's not interesting. But I knew I needed to do it. And I never could get going on this. Something happened and I felt like it was a God thing for me. I'm a person of faith. I woke up one morning and I just wanted to go for a walk. That was a miracle because I never wake up and say, oh, I think I'm going to go for a walk today. So I did. I just, went with it. It was horrible. I walked just a short distance. I thought I was going to die. Many times I kept thinking, this is my last breath. But I made it. I got back and I was still alive, barely, but I made it. And then the next day I thought, well, that taught me walking's not good. The next day I got up and I had a desire to walk again. And pretty soon I got to where I get up looking forward to getting out there and walking. And I was going a little bit further each time. I mean, obviously I'm not setting the world on fire. People aren't coming out asking me how I'm doing it or whatever. I try to express gratitude each day for being out there walking. A simple thing. You have things like that too to be grateful for in the midst of all that you might be going through. Try to build an attitude of gratitude. The final thing is to work on your faith. I have chosen not to talk about faith much in these little talks. I'm a retired pastor. I have a lot to say about faith, but I just wanted to do something positive and different. There are a ton of people out there talking about faith. But I really believe faith has a lot to do with being more optimistic. And I'm not good at being optimistic. This is a learning thing for me as well. But I think faith has a big part of it. So I just want to say a few things. And the first is I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. That means I want to learn about him. I want to try to live like him. And I want to represent him. I try to curb being super religious, and I try to focus on just being in a relationship with Jesus Christ. I believe in God. I believe there's one true God. I believe he is the creator and sustainer of everything. I believe nothing is impossible for God. And I believe God is with me. He said that, I didn't. God is with me. He said, I'll never leave you or forsake you. I'm always there. I believe that God causes all things to work together in my life to make me more and more like his son. I don't know that he causes things. Some things I think he does, but not everything. I mean, life throws enough at us. But I think he uses everything that happens, good and bad, to make me like Jesus. He wants me to act like Jesus, to live like Jesus, and to represent Jesus. And so he's using everything to mold me. I believe that when problems come into my life, challenges come into my life, it does not mean that God is absent. He is with me. He said he'd always be with me. And I believe he has a plan and a purpose, and I'm a part of that. That is humbling and encouraging. And it helps me to be more optimistic because I can look at life through the lens of faith and God with me. If you're not a faith person, I recommend it. But I recommend it to be real, not just religion. Put your faith and trust in Jesus. Believe he's who he said he was, and begin to be with other people who believe the same. I think optimism has a powerful effect on our life. I've seen it in my life, and I'm just learning this. And that's why I really like this quote. Choose optimism. It feels better. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope that this has been helpful to you, encouraging to you. I hope you've seen the benefit of optimism and you'll start making some adjustments to choose it, to begin to approach life in this new way, choosing optimism, because it really does feel better. If you liked it, I hope you'll click like or thumbs up or subscribe if you want that kind of thing. And until next week, I hope you have a great, healthy week and that you begin to choose optimism. Thanks.